Finn? Hey everyone, Shark here, and I want to go over a pre-release analysis on Nahida. Keep in mind a lot of this needs to be confirmed with the final in-game version of the Dendro God Baby, but she's looking really useful. I first want to go over what her role will be, as well as what she will do well and what she won't do well. Then we'll dive into her abilities, talk about some things they showed off in the livestream but didn't fully explain, and finally I'll give some recommendations on who she would benefit and who might be disappointed if they pull for her. Keep in mind once again that we don't have the final damage numbers, so things we expect to work may not work at all. Cough. Beto's burst with Raiden's burst. Cough. So, if you're on the fence about pulling her, wait about a week or so we can have a better perspective on her strength and any downfalls she may have. And with that in mind, let's dive into what you need to know about the little Dendro deity. But before we do, just a quick reminder to smash the like button, sub and turn on the bell if you haven't done so already, and for your troubles, here's a picture of Nahida as a Peapod. Now the first thing people will ask is Nahida a main DPS, a sub DPS, or a support? And the answer is yes! Nahida can play the role of a Dendro Enabler, which is an on-field character that uses their normal attacks to apply Dendro constantly and trigger a lot of Dendro reactions. But she can also apply a consistent amount of Dendro off-field over time, making her a good reaction support. Now if you're planning to play her on-field, you'll be using her normal attacks to apply a lot of Dendro, but you should note that these attacks look like they hit pretty low to the ground, so the attacks will probably miss enemies that float up high. The livestream definitely put a lot of emphasis on things outside of her normal attacks, and honestly I expect these attacks to probably not be very strong on their own, but having a constant source of Dendro application will make them very useful. Think along the lines of Sucrose's normal attacks. Her elemental skill seems to be where a majority of her damage will come from. This skill has both a tap and a hold version, which marks enemies with a special status that deals Dendro damage anytime you trigger a Dendro reaction. And it is also extremely useful outside of combat as it can be used to gather plants, and even tap the like button using the power of Dendro. The skill also links enemies together, giving the skill some more AoE potential. It may seem confusing because it looks like you have to play Pokemon Snap to use it, but this is just a way to make the skill feel more unique. The important aspects of the skill is that it marks enemies and deals Dendro damage whenever you cause a reaction, and this can happen multiple times over the course of the skill's duration. Her elemental burst creates a gorgeous domain expansion that buffs other characters' elemental mastery, as well as creating buffs to the burst itself based on the elements present in your party. We don't see this do any damage, so don't expect her to be like Ayaka or Yaimiko and unleash a dump truck size amount of damage with her elemental burst. Overall, Nahida is highly flexible, being not only extremely useful in any Dendro team, but probably the best option for Dendro teams for a really long time. Her off-field damage and buffs look to be very useful in Quicken, Aggravate, Spread, Burgeon, and Hyper Bloom teams when paired with the corresponding on-field DPS. She also looks to be an amazing on-field DPS or driver for Quicken, Aggravate, and Spread teams when paired with Electro off-field DPS. And if you have Nilo, Nahida can serve as an on-field DPS to bring the true power of Nilo's bountiful cores to life. Additionally, based on what I saw in the livestream, it looks like she'll have very good uptime on her skill and burst, while also not being super energy hungry. It's no secret that the Archons in Genshin Impact are really strong, and Nahida looks to continue this trend. Her kit seems really solid, especially considering she acts as both a team buffer and a very good Dendro applicator both on and off field. She definitely looks to be better than the Dendro Traveler, which is our current best option for consistent off-field Dendro application over time. She also looks to be better than Tanari in Spread teams, as her AoE potential and reaction damage will likely make her a better on-field DPS than Mr. Fluffy-Eared Forest Ranger. And considering how much emphasis both her kit and the Dendro element in general have on stacking elemental mastery, she's probably a great pickup for free-to-play players wanting a strong character with good weapon and team options. As free-to-play players all have access to the craftable Mappamare Catalyst, as well as the 3-star Magic Guide being very easily accessible. And as for team options, you can access the Dendro Traveler at AR5, which I did in another video, and you also have a plethora of great characters to pair with either a double Dendro or single Dendro team. And by plethora of characters, I mean pretty much all of the Electro or Hydro characters will work well with her, as well as Animo characters for Swirl and Resistance Shred. Unfortunately, Geo, Cryo, and Pyro don't seem like they'll be that good with her. Geo and Cryo don't react with Dendro, and Pyro does react with Dendro, but the burning reaction really isn't that good. But if Nahida's Dendro application is as good as it seems, then we may see some really interesting teams emerge, like a reverse melt Dendro Ganyu. We'll just have to see. Now that we've covered her positives, what are the downfalls or problems that you'll have to solve if you want to use her? Well, the first one is that you'll have to run her in a Dendro reaction team if you really want to make her work. All of her power comes from Dendro reactions, so if you don't like or don't plan on ever using Dendro reactions, then I wouldn't pull for her. And this kind of makes sense with her being the Dendro Archon and everything. The second thing you should consider before you wish is that the team comps that get the most use out of her abilities will likely be more complex in terms of playstyle and team building. For example, you might want to run a Hyper Bloom team with her, but when dealing Hyper Bloom damage, the Hyper Bloom is based off of the Electro character and not the Dendro character. So you'd have to build your Electro character with EM to get the most out of that reaction. And I'm just calling it now, there's definitely going to be a bunch of people who show off their Nahida's power, and there's also going to be a ton of people who look at that and wonder why their little Dendro baby seems so weak in comparison. And the answer is either those people wailed out super hard, or they're building a team with specialized stat allocations and doing very specific rotations to maximize the damage. It's no wonder Nahida is the god of wisdom, because Dendro reactions are a lot more big brain than the other reactions. So if you don't want to deal with all this Dendro reaction understanding stuff, then you may not want to pull for Nahida. Now there's also several other considerations depending on what team you want to run her in. For example, if you want to run a Bloom team, then you really want a healer or shielder since Bloom damages you as well. And if you have Nilo and don't run her with only Dendro and Hydro, then you don't get access to Nilou's special Bountiful Core mechanic. Which means that if you're planning on running Nilo with Nahida for a Bloom team, you're also going to really want Kokomi so she can heal off the damage you take from the Bountiful Cores. And that's a lot of limited 5 stars for one team. Alright, we've done a breakdown of Nahida based on what we know, so let's go over the pros and cons of the upcoming Dendro Archon. First, the pros. She looks to be very versatile, easy to build, works both on-field and off-field, will be the best Dendro character we have for now and probably for a long time as well, and she's also very free-to-play friendly. And now the cons. You have to play some version of a Dendro team to get any use of her at all, and understanding how to maximize Dendro reactions can be a bit confusing, and some teams are more restrictive until we have things like Dendro healers or Dendro shielders. Overall, I think the pros definitely outweigh the cons, and Nahida will be absolutely fantastic. I think a lot of people who get her are going to love playing her, and she seems like a lot of fun. However, if you don't really like her and don't want to pull for her, then don't let anyone tell you that you have to pull for her. Play how you want and pull for the characters you want, because even though we have some extremely good characters, the game is becoming more and more robust, and we're getting more and more great team comps with every patch. And that means that we aren't locked into needing the same few characters we were at the beginning of the game, and I really appreciate that. Anyways, I hope this pre-release analysis gives you an idea about Nahida's usefulness and potential for your account. Thank you so much for all the support. I love reading your nice comments and helping you progress further. And if you're unsure if Nahida would be good for you, you can always ask in the comments below or in our Discord, which is linked in the video description, and we'll be able to help you out there. Have a wonderful day everyone, stay jawsome, may order guide you, and I'll see you in the next one.